Hey guys, so I just wanted to do a quick review on law of sines for today. I know, like I mentioned in my email before, a lot of you actually got law of sines correctly on the test, so I'm not that worried. But, I thought a little review before we move on might be handy. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started with law of sines. I'm trying this out for today, seeing if it works in the first place. So let's see how this goes. So, as you see, I'm still going to copy down my notes on the notebook. If you need to, I highly recommend you copy down the notes. But if you don't need to, then, you could just go ahead and keep watching. So, quick reminder of law of sines. Just remember that this works for all type of triangles. This works for all triangles. So not only right triangles, but especially triangles that we don't know much about, any kind of triangle. Now with the right triangles, we do prefer to use SOHCAHTOA, which is a lot easier. It's just like a one-step type of thing. But, law of sines still works for that. So let's remember what the biggest idea of law of sines is. So let's say given triangle ABC, just some random triangle, let me draw a shape, something like this. Here's A, here's B, and here's C. Let me scoot up a little bit. So, given this triangle ABC, remember, let's get some notation out of the way. So, let's start with the angle right here, A. So, angle A is right here. It's the big letter A. And then, if you remember, we call these sides little a, then little b, little c. So, just remember the little a is across from the big A, or the opposite side, remember, because we are using sides. So opposite. So quick note here, side A, little a, is opposite to angle A, or big A. So that's how we know it has to be opposite. Okay, now let's do another one for big B. So this one, its little b has to be on the opposite side, right over here. So I'll also mention here in the blue that side little b is opposite to, I can't spell, opposite to angle B. And last but not least, here's C. And again, its opposite side is over here, which is little c. So side little c is opposite to angle C. So remember, big letters A, B, C, big A, big B, big C, those are angles. The little a, the little b, the little c, those are the sides. So the sides are on the side, obviously, and then the angles are the spaces in between. Okay? So, the big result from law of sines, which we actually proved in class, let me scoot down a little bit. Remember that the big result was saying that sine of big A over little a is equal to sine of big B over little b, which is also equal to the sine of big C over little c. That's the main result. Now, that's a strategy that tells us we can use any of these together. Ideally, we never want to use all three at the same time. In fact, we can't really use all three at the same time. So it means we have to use two at a time, either sine A over little a and sine B over little b. Could be the first two, the last two, the first and the last, etc. We just need to use two at a time. So, just remember, we talked about it before, but to actually be able to use the law of sines, so for law of sines, we must have a pair. So if we don't have a pair like this, we cannot use it. And by pair, if you remember, I'm talking about like big A and little a. It could be big B and little b, or big C and little c. So we just need a pair. Big A, little a, big B, little b, big C or little c. But we need a pair. If we don't have a pair of these, then that means we probably cannot use law of sines. Or in fact, we cannot use. So just keep that in mind. We need a pair. So let's go down to an example. And again, the cool thing about a video though is that you can pause the video if you need to copy down notes. I'm looking at the camera right now. It looks like you can actually see it, but let me know if it doesn't show up on your screen. So quick example of law of sines. let's say I have this sort of triangle. I'm actually going to do the first DOK2 on the last quick check that we took. So if you wanted to review that one, there's a good opportunity. So the situation was something like this. I had a triangle like this, and then it went this way. It seemed like a right triangle. Oops, kind of went over a little bit more. But then we were looking for this side right here. So this is the right triangle. I'll call it actually, I don't have anything to call it. So this is 30 degrees. This was called X. We're trying to find X. And what else are we given? So that's 90 degrees. This is 58 degrees. That's 90 degrees. And we know that this is 53 degrees. Or sorry, excuse me. This is 53, the side. So now we're trying to find X. We're trying to find this side. Now the big thing to remember is that this side right here is not the right triangle for this triangle right here. Let me actually call this, I'll call this A, B, C, and then if I need it, I'll call this D. Now, it doesn't matter what you call each one, but let me explain. So notice that we're looking for BC, or this X. If I'm going to use this triangle, ABC, I cannot use SOHCAHTOA because this triangle right here, without this, it's not a right triangle. If I was going to use SOHCAHTOA, it would be for ABD, the whole thing, which my opposite would be over here. But I want to use X. So we have two options. We can either use this triangle ABC or BDC. The only problem with BDC is that if I see here, I only know one angle. I don't know any sides. Actually, I know two angles, right, and the 58, but I don't know any sides, so that tells me I can't really work with that. So I'm probably going to use this triangle, ABC, but let's see how we can use it. So, quick labeling. I forgot to mention that, let me repeat. So it doesn't matter what you call these sides. I just chose to call them ABC, but we just have to be careful since we are going to be using law of sines. This side opposite to A has to be little a. This side opposite of B, so let me draw like an arrow going this way, has to be little b. And then this side opposite of C, which is kind of like going off this way, this would be my little c. So again, it doesn't matter which one you label like A, B, C. Just remember that once you choose those, the sides opposite of that big letter has to be the little letter. So if this is A, this has to be little a. If this is big C, this has to be little c, etc. Sorry guys, my camera just went off a little bit. But just to finish this example, so remember that you can choose A, B, and C. The only condition is that your little a, for example, has to be across from big A, little c has to be across from big C, and little b has to be across from little b. So now, we're going to use the law of sines, which is over here. But keep in mind that we only need two of them. It could be big A, little a, big B, little b, big C, little c. Now, as you see down here, we need a pair. A big A, little a, or big B, little b, etc. So when I look at my triangle, remember, we're trying to work with ABC. Notice that, for example, I know big A, and I'm trying to look for little a. So I don't have that pair, but I'm trying to look for it. Now, I don't know little b. Little b is this space right here. Sorry, I don't know big B, which is this angle right here. And I don't know little b, so that doesn't work either. But I know little c. I just need to find out what big C is. And notice that's why they give us this angle right here, because these form a straight line. So this has to add up to 180. So I know that this can actually be, if that's 58, we had two, that's 128. 128 degrees. And so now we know big C and little c, we know a pair. So to set this up using the law of sines, let me go on the side here. So first of all, since I'm trying to find out what little a is, which is x, I need to know, or I need for sure to be using sine of a over little a. That for sure I need to have here, because I'm trying to find whatever little a is. Now, when I think about the other one, what am I going to use, sine of b over little b or sine of c over little c? And again, I don't know anything about the b's, either the little b or the big B. So let me focus on the c's. I just found out what big C is, but I know I'm going to use sine of c, and I do know what little c is right over here. So now, let me go ahead and use that and plug in my numbers. So don't forget I need to spell out sine, and then of big A is 30 degrees. Over, then I can call it little a, or I'll call it x, because that's what I'm trying to find. And then sine of big C is 128. Sine of 128. Don't forget the parentheses, they can be helpful. And then little c is this side over here, which is 53. And don't forget to cross multiply. I'll use this color for this. Oh, it's running out a little bit. I'll use this color for that side, and then I'll use the blue for this over here. So let me start with the orange. So x times sine of 128. X times sine of 128. Now you could find out the decimal right off the bat, but I'm going to leave it until the very end just for easier writing. And then let me write on the blue. I have sine of 30 times 53. So equal sign, don't forget the equal sign. But 53 times sine of 30. And again, I'm going to leave the decimals until the very end. I'm just carrying this over for maximum accuracy. And then if you remember, if I'm trying to get x by itself, sine of 128 is just one number. So let me go ahead and divide both sides by sine of 128. Divide by sine of 128. And my final answer will be this x. These two cancel out. X is equal to whatever 53 times sine of 30 is over sine of 128, which, let me plug it into my calculator real quick. And now, if like I mentioned before, I'm trying to leave this decimals until the very end so I have my accuracy. So let me see, we have 53 times sine of 30 over, or divided by sine of 128. So I plug it into the calculator. Let me see if you guys can see it. Oops, already messed up. But once we plug it in, 53 times that, notice that it's 33.6 something. I'm just gonna round up to the 10th, so 33.6. Yeah, 0.6 is about right. So x, I'll put it right over here, equals 33.6. And that's it. So biggest thing, just remember you can choose your letters, A, B, C. Only condition is that little a has to be opposite of big A. Big B and little b have to be opposites, and C and little c have to be opposites. Think about what triangle you're going to use. Since I'm trying to find x, that means I have to work with ABC or BCD. And the only thing is that I didn't know anything about BCD other than maybe like the angles, but I did know a lot of information about this triangle ABC. So I was going to work with that. And again, this triangle ABC is not a right triangle, so I had to use the law of sines. Okay? Hope this helped. Let me know. Hope this helps. Let me know if you have any other questions, and stay healthy.